Okay, turning now to deflection in Multnomah County and the place that houses the program in Portland's Central East Side. It's where police refer people caught solely with possession of hard drugs to give them the chance to get connected with services like treatment instead of taking them to jail, which sounds like a progressive and innovative way to handle addiction in the county. The only problem is millions of dollars have been spent on the program, and in the first year, on average, fewer than 2 people were served at the deflection center per day. An annual report was recently released, and the results are not necessarily promising. Here are a few of the main takeaways. From September 1st of last year to the end of August this year, law enforcement referred 520 people to the deflection center. 392 of those people actually decided to stay and talk with someone, while the rest, over 120, simply turned around and walked right out. Now, of the 392 people who engaged, just 113 of them took the additional step to complete deflection, meaning they accessed at least one service that was offered to them. So of the 520 people that police referred to deflection, just 21%, around 1 in 5, actually received some kind of service to complete the program. Critics have argued the price tag for deflection is not worth the results, saying there are more security guards working at the center on a typical day compared to the people who actually use the center. And the numbers have some Multnomah County commissioners speaking out as well.
I'm concerned that this model fundamentally doesn't really work.
2 people a day can't, for the millions of dollars we spent, we can't continue with that.
Today, Commissioner Shannon Singleton released a set of changes that she would like to see when it comes to deflection, basically linking deflection with the county's homelessness efforts. Okay, her proposals include integrating data systems between deflection and homelessness systems like the by name list to best understand people's needs and direct them to specific services. Getting people into county sober shelters immediately upon their release from the deflection center, and making inpatient drug treatment and recovery housing available on site rather than having to send people elsewhere. Okay, joining me now live is Multnomah County Commissioner Shannon Singleton. Commissioner, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Blair. It's good to see you.
So I want to start with what in your eyes is not working with deflection?
So what's not working is that people are not having success in either entering recovery from addiction or from homelessness. The data showed that 92% of participants are experiencing homelessness, and yet we've continued to have these two systems disconnected.
So yeah, that first year of deflection, of the more than 500 people referred, only around 400 actually chose to engage with the program, and even fewer completed it. How do we boost those numbers?
I think there's a couple of ways. One is part of my proposal includes increasing referral sources. As a former outreach worker, I know that I had lots of clients who were asking for support to get sober, and right now they are not able to refer their clients into the program. There are some expanded referrals, like some peer services or Portland Street Response, but I think we need to go even bigger than that because there are people who do want to seek recovery. Additionally, people leaving deflection and going back to the street is not a good plan. We need to set them on a path to actual recovery. And so that's why I think working with our clean and sober shelter providers will enable them to actually enter into treatment and at least into a supportive community of other people who are also trying to be clean and sober.
Right, so that first proposed change, provide immediate entry into county-funded clean and sober shelters from deflection. Why is that not happening now, and why do you want to make that change?
I think it's just by program design, it operating in these silos. And it was something for me that just I've been asking for since I started in December, was how do we make this a better connection to homeless services? And I think particularly as we've expanded clean and sober shelter, we need to really make that change now. It feels very urgent to me. It's not something that can wait for another year. And I think the data in the annual report is what pushed me to say this data is clearly supporting this needed connection.
You said we've expanded sober shelters. If more people are referred to the deflection center, are there enough sober shelters to accommodate them?
That's something I think we need to talk about with the providers is we have guest beds for a lot of different types of things. As a former shelter provider, I used to have guest beds, for example, for law enforcement, that if they came across somebody, it was a women's shelter at the time, but if they came across somebody in the middle of the night that needed access, they could bring them to my shelter. We do this for a lot of reasons, and I think deflection is a really good reason to make that sort of bed policy and have immediate access to that clean and sober space for them.
So another one of your proposals is training deflection center staff to check that by name list. And if that person is not on the list, then to add them. But for viewers at home who don't know, what is the by name list and what's behind this proposed change?
So the by name list is the list of all the people we know in our community who are experiencing homelessness. It's part of why you see the big difference in how we count our point in time count that just came out to show, as opposed to just doing a moment in time or one night in January, we're tracking people throughout the year. And this has been a years long effort to get people onto this by name list. I think there's two components to this. One is the deflection center staff could be checking, and if somebody is on the list and assigned to case management and has some support services, they can help make that reconnection. But additionally, if they're not on the list, it gets them on there so that homeless services can also start to pay attention to this person's needs.
Is it kind of crazy to you that that hasn't already been happening?
It absolutely is. I think I referred to it as low-hanging fruit the other day, and it really is something really simple that I think we can do that will impact some change for people.
You mentioned you want to allow homeless shelters to refer their clients to the center. So will this change the structure of who and is not allowed into the center? Because as it stands right now, law enforcement arrests someone for drug possession and then gives them that option of deflection or jail. So what would a referral from a homeless shelter look like?
It would look like somebody who is wanting to really get into sobering and being able to refer them or bring them up to the center yourself. I think I've talked about previously with you, Blair, a little bit about Hooper Detox and how that used to work or not work for homeless service providers. And there still really isn't an access point. If somebody has case management and support services and they're saying they want to get clean and sober, we should offer them that opportunity. But there is a need to make sure that they are being checked out by a medical provider so that it's not just a cold detox. We really want to get them those services that this center will have. And then again, it can get them on that path to recovery if they want to go into longer term treatment, whether that's outpatient or inpatient. But right now, those two systems are very disconnected.
So in that Deflection Center annual report, it mentions that there are discussions about expanding eligibility to allow some co-charges like low-level misdemeanors, things like trespassing. Right now, someone, can only be charged with drug possession to qualify for deflection. So what do you think about expanding those charges?
I think it makes sense, and particularly, I think it makes sense for the city's ordinance around no camping. Right now, if you get that citation and a controlled substance charge, you're not eligible for deflection. And so I think there is a next step that makes sense. And again, only if we connect this to homeless services. I don't want it to be another revolving door where people aren't getting connected in the way that they need. And I don't mean to say the staff are doing good work for what they were designed to do, but the design doesn't actually meet the need, and it's time for us to make these reforms.
Do you think charges like trespassing or, say, theft would make sense to have someone charged with that then be offered deflection?
I'm absolutely open to expanding it, but right now I think the first step is to fix the program so that it's actually an entryway into services. Referrals to services is not something that is really setting people up for that longer term success. So expanding too much right now feels like a difficult choice when it's almost a path to nowhere. And I really want us to make this first step so that people are exiting deflection or sobering and getting into with either shelter, inpatient treatment, or connected with outpatient treatment so that they're on the path to housing and recovery. And then we can continue the conversations about what might need to be expanded.
And we know the county is working to open a sobering center also in Southeast, but that's not slated to open until 2027. So I'm curious, how long is the county's lease on the current deflection center, and will there be a gap between when that closes and the sobering center opening?
So there is sobering on site at the deflection center now. That part did open in the temporary site as well, but the permanent facility, as you mentioned, doesn't open for a bit. There is some flexibility in the lease terms so that we can extend should we need to make sure that there isn't a gap in services between the temporary facility and the permanent facility.
Okay, Commissioner Singleton, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Blair.
So what do you think about Commissioner Singleton's ideas? What do you think about how deflection has gone after just over a year? Does anything stand out to you? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090.